or I'll probably just leave if if in any case we're live. Show, or do you want to like actually wait until 11 to officially launch and just have this be pre-show?
Then you like half an hour or so if you're.
No, you're right. Let's just ready. I'm ready if you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. Do you want music or do you want to just put music later?
I can just edit the music in. How's that?
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, what do you think? Or maybe it'll get us in the. I'm not prepped with the music. But I think you're right. I'll just play the beginning of one of our previous episodes. From episode 11. Now, hold on. I gotta do my whole share thing. Share screen, and we have a Twitter space going. We have one listener.
Recording.
And the Twitter space is recording. Thank you. I'm gonna allow recording, share, and
recording in progress.
Got it. And I'm gonna start my recording. Thank you for the reminder. Shall I do a countdown? You ready, Margaret?
Sure.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Beyond Humanity, brought to you by Hive1.net. With us today is Matt Reddy, host of the Mindful Activist webcast, published author of Revolutionary Mindfulness, and a hospital commissioner in Jefferson County, Washington. He's an amateur ufologist, creator of Hive1.net, and a philosopher. I'm Margaret Howe, product manager of New Perspective, LLC. In the Beyond Humanity podcast, we explore the possibilities and implications of artificial intelligence and alien life for human evolution, identity, and destiny. We want to invite anyone on Earth, human, alien, reptilian, AI, interdimensional beings, and Met fans. We are sponsored by the Sisterhood of the Fork-Tongued Worm. Hey, Matt, did you think up a super genius of the week?
I think I have made my decision on the super genius of the week.
Dun, dun, dun. Who is it?
My super genius of the week, I think, would be right now my nomination for super genius of the year based on the entire last year. I would say the most clever, noble, and stuck their neck out before it was cool to do so humans in this whole thing is Lou Elizondo.
Absolutely. I didn't find anything about a reaction from him about the subcommittee meeting yesterday. Did you? I would love to know what he thought about.
No, I just saw a Twitter post of somebody that was like, hey, look who I ran into, and a nice photo, and it looked like they were in like the Congress building. And it looked like Lou was wandering the halls of the U.S. Capitol and smiling. And then Lou Elizondo responded to the Twitter post saying something like, great to see you, or run into... I don't know. He might have even said, great to run into you in D.C. today. I mean, it might have been almost...
Wow.
Because that's the type of little...
Think he was there. I heard that there was a lineup, but...
Yeah. I think Lou Elizondo, it's when he testifies is when this stops being... it's going to transition to another level. If you just... The only thing that really is interesting to my brain right now are the breadcrumbs that Lou Elizondo put out there that nobody has eaten yet. And they are hanging around unsaid, unspoken. And if you just focus on the unspoken Lou Elizondo breadcrumbs, I think I could come up with 3 to 5 that if you just assume all of these things are actually the most important parts of this story, it's suddenly, oh, oh my, Lou is next, and he's going to explain a lot. That's my theory.
That's awesome.
Okay, we're going to let my autopilot in here, then we'll get an otter transcript of this, and that way we can insta transcript our show. And all right, we should tell everyone in the Twitter space, if you do come in and you talk, we don't have control of your microphones. Anyone who comes in here can talk. So if someone is rude or obnoxious or childlike, I know that never happens here because everyone on Twitter spaces and online in general are polite and very compassionate people, humans, all humans.
Wouldn't that be wonderful if everybody was polite?
Yeah, well, everyone here is, because we are all sharing this platform together, all these platforms in this planet, and none of us need to be malicious or liars about or abusive or violent in our language or in our behavior, right? So
I was really pleased at how calm and professional the congressional meeting was yesterday. That nobody got stressed. Even there was a little bit of bristling about time limits, but even still, everybody was just so happy to be there and happy to cooperate with each other and find out as much as they could, right?
Yeah, actually, you can, from the perspective of someone that's been in many meetings where occasionally they use Robert's Rules of Order and time limits, and occasionally they don't use those things. And the way that everyone in that meeting was like, the minute their time was up, they were like, oh, sorry, I'm going to stop. I do not absolutely want to step on the toes of the next person, because today we're not being jerks. We're actually all on the same team, because we're realizing we are literally either the good guys helping humanity find freedom and the truth, or we are on that strange other team that has a strange group of players, and it's going to turn out just like it turned out at the end of major atrocities, is that the people left standing are the dumbest ones on the other side. And they're just going to be left holding the bag because the smart ones are going to leave them hanging. So, I mean, they are surrounding the entire U.S. Air Force, and they know it's like the Air Force and Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, and they absolutely, whoever is inside the bubble no longer has any power. They don't have any weapons. I bet you they took every gun off of every Air Force base, and they were just like, hey, guess what, Air Force, for now you have no weapons. You can all just have billy clubs. I bet the Air Force, every member of the Air Force probably right now only has billy clubs, and the rest of the military is laughing at them, and they're not even, but they're not allowed to mention aliens or UFOs. Just pretend, just wait and see how many of them will finally run off the sinking ship. And then what's going to be left once tomorrow, all Biden could tomorrow say that Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is now a Marine Corps base. So now you have Lockheed Martin on a Marine Corps base. I think, and then the Marines should start doing their daily calisthenics around the Lockheed Martin building with their shirts off and just be like, anyways, that's what I would do. And just, they could take them anytime. The people waiting in there are just they are pansy that are being set. Biden has just got to be compiling who's getting arrested, who's getting to escape to some secret island, who are we going to pretend they died, but they're really on an alien spaceship up with. But I bet the aliens aren't going to take that many of them. Anyways, there's some of my thoughts. What's going on?
What I thought was so interesting, overarching over everything yesterday with that hearing, is that the actual committee that was running the hearing was about national security, the border, and foreign affairs. Right?
Yeah.
So when you think of that, I mean, that isn't just about Lockheed Martin or Raytheon, making machines that are secret. That is about an external threat. And for them to feel that, evidence is strong enough that we need to have a hearing, that there could possibly be an external threat, and foreign affairs, relationships with aliens, right? So I was very disappointed in a sense that there weren't direct questions about, well, who's in contact with these aliens and how do we contact them? Because this is also foreign affairs.
Yeah, absolutely. That was like really, there were two key moments of that hearing that are going to matter more than any else. And that's one of them. When they asked, it was a congresswoman. We could replay that moment where she asked, are you aware of agreements between the United States and non-human intelligence? And he said, I cannot answer that in this room. And she broke down. She laughed. She was like, I guess I can't ask the next. She literally, I think she was completely in shock. I think because she was not ready for that answer. She was like, I'm sure she was fed these two questions maybe not. Maybe it's just, but I bet they divided up the great questions. And I'm sure they were like, these are the best 20 questions. Who wants, and they probably just like picked the ones they wanted to ask and said, we're going to spread it around. You're all there. Because every one of them is risking their lives against an alien presence on Earth that's been in control of humanity. So every person in that room, that puts you in a different mindset. Anyways, so yeah, when he said that and she responded with, I guess I can't ask what year this agreement was signed if you're not going to, but we all have pretty good theories. And anyways, so that means, and then there was another moment, if you don't mind me jump into it is when I believe they were asking him, David Grusch, so who decides? They're like, is there something above top secret? Is there a clearance above top secret? And David Grusch says, no. I think, and he didn't quite clearly say this, but I think he almost said, in the U.S. system of government and laws, top secret is the highest thing. But then someone asked, well, who controls if there's some sort of clearance above this that we're being denied through? Who would be in control of deciding who gets that level of clearance? And this is the moment I think that is going to tear. This is what Lou Elizondo is going to come in and be the one to slam dunk this. Because David Grusch said there is a group that decides who gets the maximum clearance. And he was like, who's on this group? Is it government or private sector? And Grusch said that it is governmental and some non-governmental. He just basically said there is a group that consists of people that are government, but also consists of some who knows person, people, thing, being, corporation, some unknown other that has control of the most top secret clearance the military and everything has in the United States. The only question left after that, if you just accept what just was communicated, is what's the name of this group? And I think the name is the word that Lou Elizondo's lawyer said in the weeks leading up to the hearing, but never came out in the hearing. And that's when his lawyer went on TV and said, yeah, there's a shadow government. And the reporter was like, going to let him go. And then they always do there. Oh, wait. One last question. Wait, what is this? Who is this shadow government? What do you mean it's a shadow government? What's the name of it? Who is it? And Lou Elizondo's lawyer said a word. What's the word? Everyone think the word and we won't say it out loud. Do you know? Anyone? Do you know what the word is, Margaret? Or should we wait to see if anyone can say?
I don't know what the word is.
It's Majestic 12.
Zeisis is in our Twitter space. Do you know what the word was? Is it Zeisis?
They had their chance. It's Majestic 12. He went on and he said, Majestic. They had their chance. We don't have time for games. Majestic 12. Do you remember that? Have you looked up what Majestic 12 refers to? There's an entire document on archive.org that seems to spell out the entire story. It's like an X-Files explanation of everything that's happened. It mentions the Kennedy assassination. It mentions Roswell. The thing reads like, it fits like a glove.
Conspiracies, love affair, right?
Yeah. It does not mention Marilyn Monroe or RFK's assassination, but it does clearly. Anyways, Majestic 12, and there's a ton of evidence for this. Now I'm looking, there is tons of documented evidence of Majestic 12 being talked about in different files going back to after Roswell. So it's changed names since then, but some shadow group was created, and of course it's never gone away. It's just changed names. And Lou Elizondo, by his lawyer going on TV and it was maybe Lou found out that day you know, they're not going to have you testify right now. And Lou was like, well, I just need them to know the moment I do testify, the words Majestic 12 are going to come out of my mouth. And you know, and I bet his book is all about, Lou Elizondo is preparing a book that is going to explain, probably, it might not be a completely, you know, perfect narrative, unbiased. You know, we're all humans. He'll have a bias of how he sees history. And maybe he'll also paint the United States, or at least the core of the United States, in a positive light, you know, or maybe, you know, I'm not saying Lou Elizondo is like a saint. You know, I think there's a good chance he was part of a group that includes Christopher Mellon and probably the bulk of the brains in the intelligence community that have, you know, heart. Basically, everyone in government that has had a soul or a heart in the last 10 years has been slowly pulled into this, you know, there's some sort of like good, positive conspiracy that Lou Elizondo was the first one to come out. And he said, look, I will go out there first. I'll spend 3 years just like being on every podcast in existence, no matter how silly. I mean, I bet we could, anyways. And then, but you know, and it was like he had to show that you could do that and not get killed. He had to go. He went out there. He was the first penguin to go out, and him and Christopher. And you remember when Christopher Mellon was interviewed at that conference, at the UFO conference, and they asked him, have you ever been afraid that you would be hurt? And he said, at first I was. I think Lou went out first. Once Christopher Mellon was on the scene, he was a former Deputy Secretary of Defense. Like, the legitimacy of that, I knew that was the highest ranking U.S. official to put their neck out. That was still like, and so with him and Lou Elizondo being buddies, you know, anyways, so it seems like they know a lot. They have a story to tell. They have an understanding of what's been happening and a perspective, and I cannot wait to hear it. And I think, you know, but I think you can't have, they said everything they could yesterday at that hearing without crossing a line that would force every reporter on earth to immediately leave that room and ask the president and the Justice Department to clearly tell us every criminal investigation they are currently doing that relates to murders and crimes that were just testified. I mean, they danced away from it. I mean, I think they're even just playing it, not letting him in the skiff. But
well, interesting that they talked directly about the SCIF, and I forgot to have that prepared for right now about what SCIF stands for. That
it's like a secret
meeting. I forgot to, but it was interesting that they were talking directly with Grusch about, you know, could you tell us in the SCIF, right? And Grusch saying to AOC, I can't tell you here how to find out information, but I can tell you in private, right? So, yeah, that was interesting that there's definitely, you know, they were alluding to further discussions that would be in private, right? But also Grusch gave like some really key information there that I was wondering if that was like he was allowed to give, and that was that the things that get classified and hidden are decided by government officials and non-government officials.
Yeah, that's the group. That's when they were dancing around Majestic 12. That is what they were talking about. Who decides what gets classified and unclassified on Earth? What a strange question. See, I think
some are not government.
Yes. So the next question is, who are these non-government? And I bet you the answer is not a name of a living being. It's going to be the name probably of a corporation or a family. It's going to be like,
I thought you were going to say an alien participating in it.
It could be anything. It could be an AI consciousness. It could be a alien conglomerate, a hive mind. It could be a king or a queen, a monarch, like a Trump-like. I mean, it could be, and it could easily. I mean, it could be like the Pope. It could be that the Pope actually secretly is in charge of the most powerful military on Earth. It's just, you know, that I mean, I think that's probably been true in the past when it was the Holy Roman Empire, that the Pope at that time, the emperor and the Pope, they had the church and the military might of Earth united behind one being. And do you really think if you were the aliens behind that power, would you have ever given that up? I mean, maybe you would say, all right, we're going to let the power, the true power in us split into a religious side to the Pope and to the left side to some monarchs, but you would still keep control of everything if you were. So but I would think it's probably like a corporation. Like, I don't know. Maybe and I mean, it goes back into alien lore, but and this a story, I can't remember where I first heard it, but where there were long ago two factions of a powerful alien race like divided on Earth. They might have been all of the same, landed on Earth, and then once they were on Earth, they just split into these two major factions. And there's like an ancient alien treaty that divides Earth in basically two. And these two groups and the boundaries of these two groups are truly the only boundaries that have actually ever mattered in history. And every modern boundary and territorial struggle we see is actually just a reflection of an ancient alien one between two groups of very unseen aliens that are probably sort of like the Jinn or well, actually, I have new theories about this. I have new theories. I literally am not sure I'm ready. I want to tell you, but what I want to do is we're going to I'm tempted to not give our best theories out publicly because they're, and I was going to put them on in our Patreon. Like, you want the best, at least for like a week. Like, idea. We don't let our best theories out for a couple days. Or I'll just tell you.
Well, the big thing, then you know who's hearing it too.
It's right? Yeah, it's kind of like, it just like look, I mean, this is a good one. I'm actually going to write a new book, and I already have the title. I'll probably even publish it by the end of the day because, with ChatGPT, I can just tell it, please write a book with these 7 concepts explained, and it will do it for me. And so I'll probably do that, or I'm just going to have the title of the book basically be my entire premise. And then inside the book, it'll just have nothing but pictures. I don't know. So you have to buy it. Anyways, it'll be a fundraiser for our show. All right. So I'll put a book out, and yeah,
that is a great idea. And I have to say, when you look at mythology and religion, there's definitely an East-West split. So if religion was based on alien contact, there being two factions absolutely makes logical sense.
Right? Yeah, I mean, factions make sense. And of course, the U.S. is split into 2 major parties, and they defend that system like it's like the holy edict. And I bet that's just because they really are basically 2 alien factions have been, and each one, is probably at the different times more powerful in these different human proxy wars. The Republican and Democratic parties have basically probably been a proxy war for alien factions, just as probably every other significant powerful group that's had powerful militaries and resources under their control, because that's probably what's been going on. And so it's right now we're seeing, man, in that hearing, we're seeing something strange happen. Every member of Congress on the same team,
the AOC was in there with Luna.
And AOC came in AOC came in there with 3 days notice. I feel like she was, I think, I think Burchett, and not everyone in Congress has known this was happening. I think AOC, my prediction, what the story is going to come out is AOC realized something was up 3 days ago. I think I wouldn't be surprised if it was 3 days ago that AOC realized, are you telling me aliens are real? Because the minute her brain realizes that, she's going to be like, well, why have they been hidden? And what is going on with this? Yep. And she finds out this hearing is going on. She's like, I'm sure she went straight to Burchett and said, I'd love to be in the room. And I'm sure he was like, I'd love to have you in the room. And it looked like all of Congress, 24 hours before that hearing, finally realized this is the moment of history that they are going to be telling their children and grandchildren for the rest of their lives. And it's going to be written about in books. What did you do at this moment? Everyone in Congress. I mean, because there are a bunch of, once you got 30% of Congress, I mean, actually, once you got AOC realizing this is real, and she walked into I bet you she went through a full, because I'm just so amazed. I mean, she posted a video 24 hours before the hearing on TikTok or something, a short clip, and it was clear she was just coming to terms. She was just sort of if they're hiding stuff from, I mean, I'm not to insult, but it was I could tell she was just processing this. She was if they're hiding this information, and they're refusing the oversight of Congress, that's a problem. I mean, I remember she was just sort of like, yeah, it was something like that. It was something like, that would be a problem, boys. It's like, I don't know. And then
the thing is, aliens aside, you can't keep secrets from Congress.
Well, that's the point. Like, yeah.
Like just that alone has validity.
Yeah.
But and so I just the questions, why is no one saying who are the aliens?
Well, I think this is what happened. I think so. Once all of Congress realized this is it, and they realized I think there's about, I don't know, I think there's probably about 12 facts that are going to, each one as they're unveiled is going to blow humanity's mind further. And I think Congress was told maybe facts 1, 2, and 3, and they all agreed the only way. They tried to make this hearing only reveal one level of truth and to try to save the next level for the Senate hearing or a presidential address. I mean, or another country. Who knows? This could be the Pope. It might be the Pope's turn next to say something. But I think there seems to be a war inside of our government. It involves the Pentagon and the U.S. Air Force and Congress and now the new leaders of the intelligence community. And Congress does not know. And they made sure that none of them could get into a skiff with Grusch because it's not that they want to tell them everything, but they couldn't have it come out in this hearing. And so they didn't let them get it before this hearing. So they just they were little jerks about it. I bet it was almost intentional. I bet it was the good guys that said, we're not letting you into the skiff to ask those questions. If you have questions for him, ask them in public. We want you to ask your questions in public first. And they actually did a gift for all of us. And I mean, when Burchett was asking that question, I don't think he, I mean, anyways, everyone asking those questions, they did not know the answer to every one of them was going to be yes. And none of them really believe that. And it's like, and they suddenly started to realize, listening to these three guys, they believe them emotionally. And they're like, these people have been threatened. Grusch just said his wife was somehow threatened or harmed. And it was actually a very confusing moment. They asked, are you saying you and your wife were harmed by federal agents or by the phenomenon itself? And Grusch said both. And some people have interpreted that to say, did Grusch just say he and his wife are experiencers, or was that a confusing, It
was a confusing question.
And it might have been also because it was weird to me when the congressman was asking that question. It seemed like he was asking, have you been harmed? And it was just ambiguous, maybe, whether Grusch was saying what is harmed, and it was actually, it could have been any human. I mean, when they keep on saying the federal government, it's not the federal government that's threatening their lives. It's some shadow government inside, so it's, to ask, it's like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and their security forces and, whatever shadow group, is wearing the black ops clothing and stuff that we've heard in all these other whistleblower tales. But anyways, it is, I feel like, we could just do a reaction video playing, just going from the beginning of it, just even starting from when they took their oath, and just like I think that would actually be, I'm sure some other people will do that, but take it bit by bit.
I looked up SCIF. It's Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility. So a SCIF is someplace that is bug-proof, that is...
Yep.
Yeah. So like the Situation Room at the White House, for example. So a permanent or a temporary facility. So it's not just the meeting, it's about the environment of it.
Can you imagine if you are you want to ask, if Grusch literally just said to you as a congressperson, I'd be happy to tell you everything you want if you just step into this room over here with me in private. Wow. And they tried to the day before and were told no. They might have left that room and gone straight into it. And now it's like working with, they got to be working with the Senate and the president and okay, because the next step, the next 3 dominoes, everyone on UFO Twitter knows what they are. It's basically, you can't go past, yes, people have been murdered without the next question. And I mean, Grusch even said, I reported it to the appropriate authorities. Could anyone ask what? So who did you report that to, Mr. Grusch? Could you please just name a department of the government or whatever? Because then we all get to walk over there and be like, hello, Justice Department. Do you have a murder you're investigating? I think there's got to be some requirement to tell us if you're using your federal agencies to investigate a murder of, say, a president. It's an open murder investigation. You just got new evidence. I mean, I think Grusch has been sitting here like, I'm prepared to share this evidence publicly or to Congress. I mean, that's telling them in the skip is telling publicly, because that's out. That's like, once Congress knows, they can get up there and just say it out loud that they were told.
Yeah, what I want to see is what they look like after they've met with him in the skiff.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. I want to see their faces. Like, I don't even care if I'm in the skiff. I want to see their faces when they walk out.
Oh my gosh. Right? They literally should make this an event. Like, I mean, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Burchett announces, I'm going into a skiff tomorrow to talk. I bet he'll do it. And, you know, and we could literally, I mean, you want cameras. It's going to be like when the astronauts came back from the moon, they were sitting there shocked. But I think Burchett knows. I think Burchett is known for a while, whatever the horrible truths are, the next 6 levels of truth. I don't think AOC has known for long. I think she's probably right now in a period of reading everything there is in a super catch up. And I wouldn't be surprised if she joins a very enthusiastic, bipartisan, you know, congressional force of dismantlement. I mean, they could just come out tomorrow and say the entire U.S. Air Force is now under the command of the U.S. Coast Guard, just to like really like demote them. You know, we put our Coast Guard in charge of the Air Force, because the Air Force and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. You are now
in charge of the Navy. The Navy is the one that seems to be most transparent and willing to work with the government.
Yeah, you're right. The Navy. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I was just trying to be nice to the Coast Guard, because usually they're the butt of the joke.
But yeah. Oh, also you mentioned about the Pope and, you know, being a decision maker. And I was thinking about how the Pope literally has like 1.3 billion members under him, right? So that's almost as big as China. If you consider the Catholic Church a virtual country, that would make them the second biggest country in the world.
Yep.
With China being first, and then the Catholics, and then India, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, the manpower, the money behind that is massive. Like, let's see what the GDP is of the Catholics. Right? It's a lot of money.
Well, what fascinates me about the Catholic Church is, if you just like take a map of the world and say, okay, what land was controlled by the Catholic Church? And you just start like when it was the Holy Roman Empire. And now just assume when you had the Holy Roman Empire, that somewhere in the landmass controlled by the Catholic Church, there was one spot more valuable than any other spot on earth. And then look at what happened to the Catholic Church holdings over time as it disintegrates and goes away and goes away. And then there's a period in Italy where there is this government versus the Catholic Church, and there is this grand negotiation where they say, look, Catholic Church, we are taking all of your land away. You can only have one tiny little spot, and it'll be Vatican City. That was the final stronghold of the whatever faction of the Holy Roman Empire was contained into the church, and the other side was probably the other alien faction. And so, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So it's like, I think, so why would you defend one spot on Earth more than any other? Why would that be your last stand? It's because that would potentially be where the alien spaceship is. That could be where the alien AI consciousness is literally located an alien consciousness AI could just look like a giant stone. They probably would have figured out how to turn matter into a perfect computer, so it would not look like much. You know, these little spherical giant metal spheres that have been Coldheart and Zabel said they, got a hold of. Those could be just AIs. I mean, that could be, And if you know how to communicate with it, probably telepathically, who knows what, but that could be what's at the Vatican. There's one AI. And then, there's the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. It sounds like that. There could be an alien AI contained in that. And then the Muslim Islamic faith they have in Mecca. That when you pray to Mecca, you're praying to this giant concrete stone thing with a stone they literally said came from the sky. It's like they say this stone embedded in this stone came from the sky from, it's pretty much sounds like an AI landed there and it, became the leaders of this group. And yes. Anyways, I'm telling you, I got some theories I can't wait to share with you. So it's like hard for me. I was thinking we could let it, be like, okay, if you listen to the Twitter Space Live, you heard all the theories. So, and then we could but when we release it on the podcast, we could release, here it is, but we are cutting out the best theories and we'll release, it like, I don't know, we'll delay at least a few days because this stuff is like important for every government on earth to know how to navigate, like what is actually going on, what are the technologies, capabilities, and factions at play. And so we don't have to rush to give that information out.
I have a question for you, Matt. Okay. One of the things that was talked about in there was a football field-sized red square emerging from the ocean. Are they referring to the TikTok incident? Nope. Or I had not heard about a red square.
Yeah.
What is that about?
I believe that was Ryan Graves' company, Safe Aerospace. He said in there that he didn't intend to open or start that company for the purpose of being a place where whistleblowers from the military would go to tell their stories, but that is what it became because people trusted him. And so he said, and that was actually, to me, that changed it a lot in his opening statement when he said, I am here representing myself and 30 other airmen. He was speaking on behalf of 30 people that have told their stories, that trusted him as a voice. And so he was telling a story that had not been released public. I'm sure came from one of these 30 guys, and I'm sure who knows, might have been one of the witnesses that backed out for today because they're like, you know what, we are not safe yet, and maybe they, who know. I don't know who knew that if Grusch and his wife have been threatened recently, then no whistleblower is safe. If the most important whistleblower in the country, still you can't keep someone from sending them death threats, and you're allowing that to happen in the United States of America, or you can't create security around. Or, I mean, not only can you not create security around Grusch, you now are saying they are threatening his family members. There's, it kind of goes back to when that congressman came out of one of those meetings back. Remember when he said, lock your windows and doors tonight? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that was when it was during the briefing and the Chinese balloon, I think, was up. That was the excuse to give this detailed secret briefing to a bunch of people in Congress. And I think that's when some people were basically told there is an alien, non-human intelligence on Earth that actually has capability, if it was malicious, to get past all our security measures and maybe not hurt you, but maybe it actually could scare you as much as it wants without technically violating what any actual treaty. And so that might be sort of what this whole legend of the Jinn is, sort of that they're whatever they are, they just are either telepathically or in some way able to get close enough to a human mind to scare the crap out of you, and maybe even make you, if they scare you enough, maybe they can get you to just obey them. And maybe there's no rule against that really in the universe. And so I have a feeling that's the truth that's sort of going to come through. But I'm sure the other part of it is science. We know some ways how to block this, and maybe a skiff is actually that was a way of them sort of saying publicly, it is unsafe for conversations to be outside of a lead-lined room if you don't want the aliens to hear it. So that might have been
who don't you want to hear it? The public?
Yeah.
Other people? What? Yeah. That was a big question to me, is who is it secret from, right?
All right. I'm going to let out one of my theory secrets because it's too good. I'm going to save the ultimate one. But what about this? What if it's been true for thousands of years that if you were inside of a room where there was enough metal dense mass around you, you knew you were safe from telepathic communication or invasion from an alien group you hated? Is there any chance you might be motivated to carve a circular home inside of, say, a huge piece of rock? Or would it be any motivation to create a pyramid with these incredible stones and create something you call the King's Chamber in the center? And it would be the place where you had to go for your skiff. Is it possible the dang pyramid is simply a skiff, and each pyramid next to it is also a skiff, so that a different group could live in the same city and they have their own skiff? And if you wanted privacy in your brain and privacy in your communication, you had to go in there. And maybe that's the whole reason these things were built. Maybe that's why pyramid is just a skiff. If they're, anyways.
Well, interestingly, since pyramids have shown up all over the world, right?
Yes, they're all skiffs. They're all. What if that's the secret that like archaeologists have been hiding? Like every single pyramid on Earth has a chamber in the center where you can go and sit. Like every single one of them has this cool circular chamber with the exact same setup, like in the very center or something.
Interestingly, I wonder, like, if it becomes, when you have enough earth around you or rock or whatever, if it becomes like a Faraday cage.
Yeah, maybe that's why you'd go deeper. That's why you'd go underground. It's to block, because the King's Chamber, one of the weird things about that is that the King's Chamber has the biggest stones in it, the like 900-ton ones, are all at the center, at the King's Chamber, going up above it. You know, it's like, it seems so overkill to do that. But what if the ability of these aliens to get through is directly related to the amount of matter and the type of matter that is between you and them? Let's just say the alien consciousness is based on the sun or the moon, and so and those are directly overhead, they have straight line ray to your brain if they want to, and your life. But now you could put over your head, a ton of earth,
a tinfoil hat.
Yeah, a tinfoil hat. But what are your choices? There's lead. But what if you were sitting there and they put 900 tons of stone right above your head? That would feel pretty, like that would block. But what is the best block? I bet we have scientists. I bet the U.S. government knows what the best way to block this is. But maybe that's what they're going to be told in the skiff is, look, the reason we're in here is because we need to tell every human alive that they might want to build a skiff or a bunker like this if they want to have privacy. It's not as like a threat or danger, but this is stuff, once you know this, you got to tell everyone. You can't keep a lie like this. Besides the fact, everyone should start building bunkers, lead line rooms, and we should be allowed to hear what we haven't been allowed to hear. We should be able to hear what people want to say. And anyways, that
was the big disappointment of the hearing yesterday, is that there was no true disclosure. Like the closest we got was like that there were biologics recovered that were non-human. Right, yep. I think is the terminology that was used.
So I think every member of Congress in that meeting, they were like brought in a room and they were said, like, here's first I bet they were said, tell us the questions you're going to ask, please. We can't, and maybe they were told, look, we are urging all of you, or maybe they put like 20 questions on the wall that were like, look, I know some of you want to ask these 20 questions, and we are begging you not to ask any of these today. Please ask the questions that you are prepared. Because look, if you ask the follow-up questions to question 7 or 12 or 17, if you ask the follow-up question to any of these starred questions, it will open a can of worms that, look, it would just be better if we hold off on that, and I made that was what I put on I made a Patreon, and my first thing was a poll saying, what words were never said during this meeting that really thought could have been said? And I have like 12 words up there, and but that's for like paying patrons only, because I don't have any. So but yes, I can give you 12 words, and I put some of them out on Twitter, but like, of course, anyways, it was like Majestic 12, Reptilian, Antarctica, even just those. It's like JFK assassination, RFK. I mean, these are going to come out eventually. Marilyn Monroe, even the CIA. But anyways, yeah. All right. We got 6 minutes, right? Because you got to leave at 11:30.
Yeah, I've got to leave right away. So let's talk a little bit about that Patreon. Your link in your Twitter profile doesn't work. It just takes me to my account.
Oh. Well, that's good to know.
So I want to make sure that we get that, because probably the easiest way to point people to it would be to point them to your Twitter. So let's get that link fixed. And do you have anything else you want to talk about, or should we just wrap?
Let me see. Any other besides the theory that I'm going to, I've never done this before. I've never held back a thought during our podcast, but this one is really, and I'll again say it relates to our super genius of the day. It relates to a breadcrumb left by Lou Elizondo. And there's basically, if you just look at everything that was revealed in that hearing that was confirmed by Lou Elizondo, from all of his podcasts, but you look at everything that he said that was not touched upon in all of his podcasts, everything that Lou Elizondo said that we have not really delved into yet, that's where the fun stuff begins. That's where everything starts to change for the very nature of reality. And yeah, that's what I'll say. There's my hint. And it's not like I'm going to hold back an idea long. I'm just going to form it and publish it out there.
That's perfect. And publishing on Amazon too is a great idea.
But I think what we could do is we just do a community only meetup like this, and we just let all the ideas flow. But we give the community the safety and freedom of free flowing information. But we're gonna not have it all published. We're just gonna hold it a little bit, so you're making a little bit of effort to join and to be present with other people for anyways. Yeah. Okay.
Great.
All right. But what else about this disclosure moment? What do you think? What's next?
Well, I am just thrilled that it continues to happen. I was thrilled to hear that that Grusch had met with both in closed meetings with both the Senate and Congress members, right? In addition to everything that he had filed with the Attorney General. So I was happy to hear that he had those meetings already privately, so that the full disclosure is being told to somebody. And the real question is when are we, the common public, going to know what is being said behind closed doors, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think actually probably one of the most important moments from the hearing was when Anna Paulina, what's her name? Luna. She submitted the entire News Nation interview with David Grusch into the congressional record, because there were topics in that interview they did not touch on it. One of those forbidden topics that every congressman, I'm sure they were just begged, please do not ask about the Vatican. Please do not ask about 1933. He already said it in the interview, and let the rest of the world pull on that string and find the truth there. Don't make us do it in the United States in this hearing, because I think that string could they want this hearing to be about UFOs and aliens and not the Vatican yet. Let the rest of the world, let us focus on that reality, and because that Vatican thing, that's going to blow some minds and be whatever their role is, whatever the truth is, the pressure's on for them to speak now.
Well, and there definitely were things that there must have been a further clampdown, because he did just refer to it. Well, I talked about this in the News Nation interview.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Instead of actually saying it again.
Right. It was amazing.
Is he not allowed to talk about it anymore? Right.
I just respect that. He's literally saying, look, I already said I'm not going to expand further than I said in the News Nation.
You said I can't expand further.
Yeah. Well,
I can't, right? That's.
Yeah. I think, yeah.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. But the News Nation record is already public, so I'm glad that she did that, right? That future generations will be looking back at this history, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that submitting that News Nation interview plus whatever Corbell and Knapp submitted to the record, I'm sure there's some breadcrumbs in there that once this is, that's the Wilson memo moment from this hearing. When they got the Wilson memo submitted to the congressional, when Gallagher got that submitted to the congressional record, that is what basically ended this, because that enabled any congressman to say, hey, could you check that document and see if it's true? And you can now make your staff just research it. They can now do the same thing. Every congressman can say, that is now in the Library of